Heat presses down, oxygen thins below, and tunnels collapse as quickly as they're carved. In this absolute darkness, life follows rules that feel almost familiar until you look closer. Something small moves through the soil, hairless and wrinkled, its skin folded like exposed anatomy. It feels pain differently. It lives far longer than it should. It barely ages. Cancer rarely takes hold, and its entire society is fixed from birth, ruled by a single breeding female, while dozens of others labor, fight, and die without ever reproducing. This is not an exception to biology. This is biology stretched to its absolute limits. Naked MoleRats do not survive by strength or speed. They survive by fundamentally rewriting our assumptions about what a mammal can be, about aging, about immunity, about social life, even about the need for oxygen itself. Everything about their existence unfolds underground, hidden from predators, hidden from climate, and largely hidden from us. Today, we are diving deep into why the naked mole rat appears so profoundly abnormal and how their bizarre lives reveal what evolution can build when survival leaves absolutely no room for comfort. The underground world naked mole rats inhabit is, physiologically, one of the most hostile environments a mammal can occupy. Beneath the savannas of Kenya, Ethiopia, and Somalia, temperatures remain high and constant. Fresh air barely circulates, carbon dioxide accumulates, and oxygen levels drop to fractions of what surface-dwelling mammals require. For most animals, these conditions would trigger rapid suffocation or heat stress. For the naked mole rat, this is simply home. Their tunnel systems stretch 4 kilometers, carved through hard-packed soil by incisors that protrude beyond their lips. These teeth are not just tools for digging, they are survival instruments, constantly growing, self-sharpening, and strong enough to move compacted earth. Crucially, their lips seal behind the teeth, preventing soil from filling the mouth while they work. Their eyes, nearly functionless in the total darkness, have shrunk over generations until vision has become almost irrelevant. Energy is not wasted on traits that offer no advantage underground. Temperature regulation tells a similar story. Unlike most mammals, naked MoleRats are terrible at maintaining a stable internal body temperature. They are functionally what we call thermoconformers, allowing their body temperature to rise and fall with their surroundings in the stable climate underground. This is not a weakness, it is an elegant energy-saving strategy. Producing body heat is metabolically expensive, and evolution stripped it away entirely when it stopped providing an advantage. But the air itself is the greatest challenge. Oxygen levels in these crowded tunnels can fall below 10%, sometimes approaching conditions that would cause rapid loss of consciousness in humans. Carbon dioxide, meanwhile, can rise to levels considered toxic for most mammals. Naked MoleRats endure this daily. Their blood binds oxygen far more efficiently than that of other rodents, and their hemoglobin releases oxygen more readily to tissues that are starved of it. Even their cellular metabolism shifts, slowing down energy demand when oxygen becomes scarce. This environment also profoundly shapes how they move and live together. Tunnels are narrow, forcing bodies into constant contact. There is no personal space underground. Over time, selection favors tolerance, reduced aggression, reduced stress responses, and intense behavioral coordination. Individuals move past each other with practiced ease, flowing through the tunnel network less like competing bodies and more like a single, unified organism. Their food source is equally unforgiving. Naked MoleRats feed primarily on large underground tubers. These are rare, scattered, and far larger than any single animal could consume. When a colony finds one, it becomes a shared resource that must last for years. The tuber is gnawed carefully, leaving the plant alive so that it can regrow. This is not planning or human foresight. It is sheer evolutionary efficiency. Colonies that overconsume starve. Colonies that restrain survive. Predation pressure underground is low, but tunnel collapse and starvation are constant threats. Survival depends not on speed or strength, but on endurance, cooperation, and the tolerance of extremes. Over millions of years, naked MoleRats have been sculpted by these pressures into something that no longer really resembles a typical mammal. Their strangeness is not an accident. It is the predictable outcome of a life where sunlight never reaches, air barely moves, and survival rewards only what truly works underground. Pain, aging, and oxygen are 3 biological limits. Most mammals cannot bend very far without breaking. Naked MoleRats bend all 3. In their crowded tunnels, injuries are common. Teeth slip, claws scrape, bodies are pressed constantly against rough soil and each other. For most animals, this would mean chronic pain, inflammation, and infection. Naked MoleRats experience something fundamentally different. Their nervous systems respond weakly or, in some cases, not at all to certain types of pain. Acidic conditions that would burn typical mammalian tissue barely even register. Capsaicin, the compound that makes chili peppers painful, produces almost no response in them. This isn't numbness in the human sense. It's a complete rewiring of their pain pathways. Key neurotransmitters involved in transmitting pain signals are reduced or absent, preventing constant, chronic pain from overwhelming the animal. This altered pain sensitivity does not make them reckless. Instead, it reflects the environment they evolved in. Underground acid levels naturally rise as carbon dioxide accumulates. Soil contact constantly irritates exposed skin. Feeling constant pain would be highly maladaptive. Evolution favored individuals whose nervous systems stayed functional under intense chemical stress rather than those that reacted strongly to it. Aging follows a similarly unexpected path. Naked MoleRats can live more than 30 years, that's nearly 10 times longer than other rodents their size. But longevity alone is not the most incredible anomaly. What stands out is how little they seem to change with time. Their muscle mass declines slowly. Their bone density remains incredibly stable. Reproductive females remain fertile for decades. Most mammals show clear signs of physiological decline long before middle age. Naked MoleRats simply do not. At the cellular level, their tissues powerfully resist the damage that normally accumulates with age. Their proteins fold more accurately. Their cells repair DNA with unbelievable efficiency. When damage does occur, defective cells are eliminated rather than allowed to divide. Cancer, which is tragically common in long-lived mammals, is exceptionally rare in the MoleRat. Part of this profound resistance comes from a dense, extracellular matrix that physically prevents cells from overgrowing. Another part comes from a heightened sensitivity to contact inhibition. Their cells stop dividing the moment they touch neighbors, long before any kind of tumor could possibly form. Oxygen, however, may be their most radical adaptation of all. In overcrowded tunnels, oxygen can drop to levels that would kill most mammals within minutes. Naked MoleRats respond by slowing their metabolism dramatically. Their heart rate drops. Brain activity quiets. And then, when oxygen disappears entirely, they switch metabolic pathways. They rely on fructose-driven anaerobic processes, a function normally seen in plants, not animals. This allows their cells to continue producing energy without any oxygen, completely avoiding the catastrophic damage seen in every other mammal under these conditions. This isn't about surviving a rare emergency either. This ability is used routinely. Colonies experience oxygen deprivation regularly, especially during periods of heavy activity or poor ventilation. Individuals that could not tolerate this simply did not survive long enough to reproduce. Taken together, all of these traits form a very clear pattern. Naked MoleRats are not optimized for comfort, speed, or sensory richness. They are optimized purely for persistence. Their entire biology favors stability over performance, maintenance over growth, and endurance over reaction. Pain is muted because pain would be constant. Aging is slowed because replacement is metabolically costly. And oxygen flexibility exists because suffocation is a daily risk. What looks extraordinary from the surface is entirely ordinary underground. These are not superpowers. They are simply solutions built slowly, precisely, and without any excess for a life where the margin for error is nearly zero. Thanks for diving into the extreme biology of the naked MoleRat. The tunnels do more than shape naked MoleRat bodies, they shape society itself. In the darkness, individuality offers little advantage. What survives is coordination. Naked MoleRats live in colonies that can exceed 300 individuals, all descended from a single breeding female at the queen. She is not symbolic. She is biologically dominant. Her elongated spine allows her to produce large litters multiple times a year. Every other female in the colony is reproductively suppressed, not by physical restraint, but by social pressure and chemical signaling. When the queen is present, their bodies simply do not enter reproductive cycles. This structure mirrors eusocial insects like ants and termites. Yet naked MoleRats are mammals, warm-blooded, long-lived, neurologically complex. No other mammal organizes itself this way. Division of labor emerges early. Some individuals specialize in digging, expanding tunnels in search of food. Others defend the colony, positioning themselves at tunnel entrances when predators such as snakes invade. Smaller workers tend young, maintain tunnels, and transport food. These roles are not rigid castes fixed at birth, but they are strongly shaped by body size, hormone levels, and early development. Over time, individuals settle into tasks that best match their physiology. This system is not driven by altruism in the human sense. It is driven by genetics and survival math. Underground, independent breeding would fail. Food is patchy. Space is limited. Ventilation worsens as tunnels expand. A single reproductive center reduces conflict, stabilizes resource use, and keeps colony size within survivable limits. Colonies that fractured under competition simply disappeared. Aggression exists, but it is tightly controlled. Naked MoleRats recognize colony members through scent, producing distinct chemical signatures that mark identity. Intruders are attacked immediately. Within the group, however, tolerance is unusually high. Bodies pile together during rest. Individuals crawl over each other without triggering stress responses. In confined tunnels, this tolerance is essential. Chronic aggression would be fatal. The queen maintains control through dominance behavior, shoving, biting, and physical intimidation. But her power is not absolute. When she dies, the colony enters a volatile period. Several females begin hormonal changes, competing for dominance. Fights become frequent. Stress levels spike. Eventually, one female prevails, her body transforming into a new queen. Her spine lengthens, her behavior shifts. The colony stabilizes again. This transition reveals something crucial. Useality in naked mole rats is not rigidly programmed. It is flexible, responsive, and deeply biological. Social structure is written into physiology, not culture. What makes this system viable is longevity. Workers live for decades, far longer than insect laborers. Their survival allows colonies to persist across generations without collapse. Knowledge of tunnel networks, food locations, and defensive behaviors is maintained not through teaching, but through continuity of bodies. This society challenges assumptions about mammalian life. Intelligence does not lead inevitably to individualism. Long lifespans do not require personal reproduction. In naked mole rats, success belongs not to the individual, but to the system. Underground, survival is not about standing out. It is about fitting in so completely that the colony functions as a single organism, many bodies, one strategy, shaped by darkness and necessity. Longevity in naked mole rats is not an isolated trick. It is the cumulative result of a life built around maintenance rather than acceleration. Most small mammals live fast. High metabolism, rapid reproduction, and short lifespans form a familiar evolutionary trade-off. Naked mole rats break that pattern completely. Despite their size, their metabolism runs slower. Growth is deliberate. Cell division is tightly regulated. Nothing about their biology favors speed. At the molecular level, their proteins are unusually stable. In most mammals, proteins gradually misfold with age, losing function and clogging cells. Naked mole rat proteins resist this process. Their cellular machinery for quality control chaperone proteins, proteasomes, and autophagy pathways remains active far longer than expected. Damaged components are repaired or removed before they accumulate. DNA maintenance follows the same principle. Every time a cell divides, small errors creep into genetic code. Over time, these errors compound, increasing cancer risk and cellular dysfunction. Naked mole rats possess highly efficient DNA repair systems that correct damage quickly. When damage exceeds repair capacity, affected cells are pushed into programmed death rather than allowed to persist. This aggressive quality control prevents compromised cells from becoming liabilities. One of the most striking features is their resistance to cancer. For decades, researchers failed to observe spontaneous tumors in naked mole rats at all. When cancers do occur, they are rare and atypical. Their cells stop dividing at much lower densities than those of other mammals, responding strongly to contact inhibition. A dense molecular weight form of hyaluronan fills their extracellular spaces, physically limiting cell overgrowth and reinforcing anti-cancer signaling pathways. This longevity does not come without cost. Naked mole rats heal wounds slowly. Their immune responses are tuned for stability, not rapid inflammation. Infections are handled cautiously rather than aggressively. These trade-offs make sense underground, where injury risk is constant but pathogen exposure is relatively low. A system built for restraint outperforms one built for speed. Reproduction fits the same pattern. Only the queen reproduces, but she does so for decades without decline. Her fertility does not taper as rapidly as in other mammals. Hormonal cycles remain stable. Tissues involved in reproduction show minimal aging-related degradation. Longevity is not achieved by shutting systems down. It is achieved by keeping them functioning smoothly for as long as possible. What makes this remarkable is that naked mole rats do not possess entirely unique genes for longevity, including humans. What differs is regulation. Pathways related to growth, repair, and stress response are dialed toward preservation rather than expansion. Evolution does not invent new parts. It adjusts priorities. In the darkness of their tunnels, there is little reward for rapid reproduction or explosive growth. Food is unpredictable. Space is fixed. Survival depends on lasting through scarcity, not racing through abundance. Individuals that burned bright and fast simply vanished. Longevity in naked mole rats is not about extending life for its own sake. It is about reliability. A body that works tomorrow is more valuable than one that peaks today. Over millions of years, this logic shapes a mammal that ages so slowly it appears to step outside the rules when in reality, it follows them with brutal precision. Their long lives are not a miracle. They are the inevitable outcome of evolution, choosing stability again and again. In a world where endurance is the only strategy that survives, seen from the surface, naked mole rats appear to violate biological expectations. Mammals are supposed to rely on oxygen-rich air, regulate body temperature tightly, experience pain as warning, age quickly when small, and organize social lives around individual reproduction. Naked mole rats do none of these things in familiar ways. yet nothing about them exists outside evolution's logic. Their world strips biology down to a sentence. Underground, there is no daylight to track time, no fresh air to waste, no open space to escape conflict. Every system is pushed toward efficiency, tolerance, and long-term stability. Traits that seem extraordinary are simply the ones that remain when excess is removed. What Naked MoleRats expose is not a loophole in biology, but a misconception about what normal means. Much of what we consider standard mammalian design reflects life on the surface: abundant oxygen, fluctuating temperatures, seasonal food, and dispersed social groups, which change the environment radically enough, and the blueprint shifts with it. Their existence forces scientists to rethink boundaries once considered fixed. Pain is not a universal necessity. It can be selectively muted. Aging is not a uniform downhill process. It can be slowed through maintenance rather than regeneration. Social systems are not constrained to individual reproduction. Under pressure, mammals can converge on strategies once thought exclusive to insects. Yet for all that is known, much remains unresolved. Researchers still debate how naked MoleRats coordinate oxygen tolerance without brain damage, how their immune systems balance restraint with protection, and why certain age-related diseases simply fail to appear. Their biology raises questions not only about survival underground, but about the limits of adaptability itself. These animals do not offer a blueprint for human biology. They are not solutions waiting to be copied. They are reminders that evolution does not aim for comfort, intelligence, or familiarity. It aims for persistence in specific conditions, no matter how strange the result appears to outside eyes. In the darkness beneath East Africa, naked MoleRats continue their quiet lives, largely unchanged by the passage of time above them. They dig, they cooperate, they endure. And in doing so, they reveal a deeper truth about life on Earth: that biology is not defined by what is common, but by what continues to work, even when everything else would fail. Hit that subscribe button if you want to see more of life's most bizarre survivors.